It's been a minute, but believe me, this is worth it. I want you to know something. When I meditate, I don't do it that traditional cross your legs, fold your arms, put your little fingers on your knees and you hum or any of that. I basically just sit in a quiet moment and I just think and I focus and I think, what is it that I need to know about the Nancy Guthrie case? What is it that I should know? What do I need to do? And then before you know it, I'm released from that mindset. And I just go on with my day or my evening or whatever. There's no ritualistic part because this is the time when I really get messages. And wow, Sunday night, I got a message. But before we start, we've got the key here. Before we start, we've got key, we've got kitty whiskers. Very happy about that. And we have a brand new book of Bull. And thank you to the ones that send me these books, because look at this. This is a beauty. And the reason I've got several small ones, but the reason that I chose this is because we need room. When we're doing this, we need some room. Anytime before I ever start a journal, I put my name in it. That gives that particular journal or that book the idea that it is claimed for my energy. So you're here with me. We're getting ready to name this new book. And here we go. So since this is not Vale Keep business, I will not sign it as though I am the chronicler of Great Vale Keep. But now it is Lady Zelda Kelly von Gorlitz. There we are. Now, what is the name of this book? Well, I think you all know it by now. We're going to do it on this page here. And then we're going to start. Here we are. I know you're all ready. Ready? Here, oop, oop, oop. Here we go. Here we are. The big, and it is, book of Bull. Welcome. Well, this book, we've got a lot to put in here. Now, this is what I want to talk to you about. This is what I came across. And I'm going to write it down so you can watch this again if you need to. Okay? So I believe this is day 58. And I'm going to put a question mark here because I think it is, but I know many of you will correct me if I'm wrong. Nancy Guthrie. She's the subject. Anytime there's a subject or something important, I underline it. Now, Sunday night, I had this meditation. And that was, I believe, the 29th. After my meditation, I just sat down for a moment. And I thought, you know what? I had a really great day. I had a great weekend. And then I just thought, I'm just going to turn on a movie. And on the tubes of you, there was a movie that came on. Now, this is really important. I want you to really pay attention to this. The name of the movie is Woman's World. And it stars Fred McMurray, Lauren Bacall, June Ellis, and there's a lot of people that are in this movie that I really like. Set in the 1950s, to be exact, 1954, which resonated with me because that's the year my mother graduated from high school. But I was watching through this movie. Now, I'm just going to give you a little backstory. But if you Stay with me. You're going to know why this resonated. The backstory is these women with their husbands went on this test. The men were competing for some type of promotion in their business, and they had to go to New York and spend some time with this gentleman and spend some time and so on and so forth. And the CEO owner of the company was not only looking at the men, but looking at the women. Now, Fred McMurray, Lauren Bacall, were married, and they had decided they had separated, and they were going to try to work this out for the sake of Fred McMurray getting this position. So both of them, you could tell they were in love, but she was upset because the job gave him an ulcer, of all things, and he didn't want to lose his family. They had a few words, and she left. She was not going to go out. She left. Then Fred McMurray left, and you see him walking in this restaurant. It's an Italian restaurant. I think you kind of know where I'm going. So this is in New York, and it's an Italian restaurant. They sit down, and they notice each other. Fred McMurray goes over to Lauren Bacall's table, and he says, "Oh my gosh, do you mind if I sit here?" And she said, "Well, you're my husband. You may as well." You know, she's very good at giving the quips. So they sit down. The waiter comes up, and Fred McMurray says, "We used to come here years ago," and I'm paraphrasing. "There used to be a waiter here by the name of Tommaso." I don't know if I've spelled that correctly, but for this purpose, I'm going to, okay? Incorrectly is fine here. We don't have to correct me because it's the name that I want to concentrate on. My little ears perked up. The waiter says, "Yes, used to be a waiter here, but now he's, I don't know, management owner, something like that." Tommaso comes back over to the table. He arranges to give them this meal that they had 12 years ago on their wedding night, blah, blah. Everyone leaves the table. Fred McMurray looks at Lauren Bacall and says, "What brought you here?" Now get ready. Lauren Bacall says the same thing. What brings people back to the place they were happy, and murderers back to the scene of the crime? Friends, back to the scene of the crime. Now, her name was Betty, but this is Lauren Bacall saying this. I had to run that over for you again. I'm going to put the link in the description of this video so you can watch it, and also start at the time marker of 48.40 if you want to see it yourself. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer here and say this. I do not want anyone to believe that I am accusing or pointing the finger at him. It's not because law enforcement says that they have, cleared him or anyone else. It's because we don't know yet, and there's a lot more that has to happen. So why am I saying this? Because I do believe that there was someone there that returned to the scene of the crime. That gave me chills. That tells me that there is someone that knew information, the intricate information about what needed to happen. And here's why. I need a little prop that I forgot to get. I'll be right back. I've got a lot of things that I want to talk to you about, but this is one. And I'll tell you what, Now we understand that they are saying Nancy's back doors were propped open. If it's anything like the front door, there is like a screen door or an outer door. Where I'm from, they call it a storm door. There in Arizona, I'm sure it's not called that. But just to give you a little context, it's the outer door. It said propped open by flower pots. Now, do you remember the card this day that I said, this could have been her memorial? But look at the flowers. Let's just go down this bunny trail just for a minute, because we see someone here with their back toward us. Let's metaphorically speak, okay? Let's just say, what if this was an indication? And this tells me, once again, we need to really be paying attention to the symbols, to the scenes, because there are little cups that are lined up. And remember, we said that this may be a two-face, but what if someone else was watching? What if? And we see this person with the flower pot. Now, that is under kind of what I would call a veranda or an overhang or a covered patio situation in the back of Nancy's house. You have to go under it. It's the same area. Then if you're looking at the back of the house, to the right of it would be those cameras that were smashed and taken out. It also said that there was a gate going into the backyard that was propped open by a flower pot. Interesting, right? So that brings up the questions. Did she, there we have two different areas of the house. We have the front, where there are droplets from Nancy, and then there's the back. But the gate was propped open. Here's a question that I have. We're going to put this here. Thank you, Moisha. Don't go very far. Here's a question in the big book of Bull for all of you right now. And that is, here we go. Now, we're investigating, so we have to ask, what if? So, Tommaso brought Nancy home, supposedly, allegedly, that evening of January 31st, 60 days ago today. Somewhat 60 days, may as well say it. 60 days ago today. Let's just say Tommaso brought her home and dropped her off, and she went through the garage. To the right of the garage is that back gate, and there's Sam. She is Miss Attitude these days. Okay, so Tommaso brings her home. I'm going to call him Tommaso, Tomato Tommaso, whatever. Tommaso brings her home after their get-together, their family soiree, January 31st. He pulls up and takes her into the garage. The gate is to the right of the garage. If they were there waiting on her, would he not have seen that pot, that it was propping the gate open? Or did he? Did he see that? Did he turn a blind eye? I'm not accusing now. I'm asking questions. Did he turn a blind eye? Did he see it? Or did he not see it? Had it not happened yet? Because there had to be a way for them to get into the gate and prop it open. Why would you need to prop it open? Was there a lock on the gate? So that if the gate came closed, it would. So was the lock from the inside of the gate? You see what I mean? There's something fishy in Denmark here. That's an expression. Denmark has nothing to do with it then, for those of you who want to know. So Tommaso, I don't know. I just have some more questions. Tommaso, I skipped a page. I have some more questions. So we're not going to skip the page. We're going to go back here. We're going to have enough to fill this out, not to worry. But take a look. Take a look. This kind of gives me the creeps right now because we're being told there's some things to watch. That's what we asked for. That's what we're getting. And that's what we need to really be careful about. We, me, hello, bringing it to you. So that's my question on the first thing. Now there's another thing that I want to ask you about. And then we're going to lay out some cards and we're going to ask these questions. In the interview that Savannah Guthrie was talking, one of the last segments that she said was time. Evidently, when this whole thing was going down and Annie called Savannah, by then a lot of things had been starting to happen. So evidently Tommaso and Annie and whomever went over to Nancy's house when they got the call that, look, Nancy wasn't around for church, whether it was remote or anything else this morning. Do you know where she is? They went over there. They assessed the situation. Now, I just don't know about this. And there was a time frame here of about an hour. Technically, when you do the math, approximately 1 hour before Annie called Savannah. So they said they were calling hospitals. They said they were calling this. They were doing that. Why did they wait so long? After they went in and saw everything that had happened and pots and blood droplets and whatever else that they saw, I would have been on the phone to my sis and a heartbeat saying, oh my heck, Mom is gone. We're going to start calling the hospitals. We're going to call 911. But evidently Savannah had said, well, gosh, you need to call 911. Oh, we did. Well, have you called all the hospitals? Yeah, we did. And then Savannah said, well, I'm going to call too. And that's when she started making her calls. But I have a question for you, my darlings. Let me move some things out of the way because the big book of Bull is just getting started. So I have some questions for you. The questions are, how much time was it between the time that Annie and Tommaso arrived at the house and made all the phone calls before they called Savannah? How much time passed? That's the number one question that we really need to find out. Now I want to tell you something. They're saying in the house they found familia is family, familiar DNA or familiar DNA from family. In the house. So I'm just going to ask you this question, and I just need to know. During that particular time span when Annie called made all these alleged calls, and then she made the call to Savannah. What were they doing in the house? Were they sprucing up everything? Was there, I'm being an investigator. When you do this type of thing, you're not accusing, you're asking, because every question is viable in this particular case. I'm sure that other people have asked that, and I'm sure law enforcement asked that if they asked the proper questions, which I'm sure they probably did if it weren't Sheriff Nanos. So what did they touch? Did they go outside and touch the flower pots? Did they put anything away? Did they make the bed? Did they open the refrigerator and close the refrigerator? Did they flush the toilet? Better yet, what did he, and I'm not talking about the Lord here because it's capitalized, what did he do? So while Annie is on the phone, supposedly, allegedly, the phone, where was Tommaso? You guys know me by now. I have to apologize because my brain starts going before my hand. Where was Tommaso? Tommaso, tomato, whatever. Where was he? What did they do inside of that? From what I hear and I understand and I've been listening to, it was, I'm going to say, a good 35 to 45 minutes to an hour. But all it takes is 5 minutes. And then see, we also have the time frame. Next page, please. I love you, Big Book of Bull. What if, right? So we're back to this page again. What if? So they trampled, were they all over the crime scene? I mean, obviously, I would be too. That's not a question. I would be too. But I have issues here. Because not only there's the time, what if Tommaso saw those pots in the gate? Not accusing, I'm asking. What if he saw the pot in the gate? But the other thing now, and let me go back here, remember. So all of you can see, there's the video. I'm going to put that video to Woman's World. It's a really good, cute movie. I really like it. And Lauren Bacall is the fashionista. All of them are. They've got a redhead in there. She's a siren, too. Whew, she's something else. But how much time? You see, time can be your friend or can be your enemy in these types of things. Now, not only that, I have an issue with the time now. The time between when Nancy's pacemaker disconnected to the time that they felt they left the house. Because I think I said that wrong, incorrectly. From the time that they entered the house, supposedly, allegedly, to the time that Nancy's pacemaker disconnected from her device. That's better. That approximately is 41 minutes. Either these perps, and yes, there was more than one, yes, there is more than two, I believe there's three. Either these perps are dumber than a box of rocks, or somebody's got the time messed up. I have an issue with that. What were they doing in 41 minutes? They weren't looking at anything. They did not say that the crime scene was trash. Sometimes, if this is a burglary, you'll see drawers pulled out and as if people are looking, and things pulled out of drawers and closet doors open and all kinds of things like that. Nothing. Now, I'm going to submit to you my personal theory after going through this over and over again, because there's a discrepancy as to why were the droplets on the front entry and in the front on the inside by the door versus the back door. I believe they came in through the back because they knew the front door. They knew the front door was blocked. Now I'm gonna submit this theory to you too. When we did, and here's the door, and this is us right here. Wait, you are here. Okay? We are looking out through the archway of the entry. Here's the entry. This is the front door. Here's the camera. This is the perp, and he comes from the side of the garage. So he's walking. You see that? And we are viewing him from back here. We are walking around from the garage. He goes around and he takes a plant. I think there's significance with that. Why? Because I believe that was a signal for somebody that had already been in the house. He came from that side. So was that person watching for this guy? Was he going to say, I'm here, open up the door, let's see? Did the person in the house take Nancy to the front door? Did they try to take her out the front door and it became a complete circus? Did they check the door for droplets? Did they do any of that on the outside door to see perhaps maybe if Nancy caught her arm on a lock or anything? We don't know. But I also believe that they were at that door for a purpose. This was to alert somebody that had already been in there. And I believe that's why they decided, because I think they were going to take her out the back door, and I believe that's when they decided they were going to go out the front, because they had too many obstacles going out back. So I believe they decided to go through the back and go through the back door. Why? Because I think somebody maybe told them. How would you know that the back doors are not locked? How would you know? Unless someone, now I'm not accusing, but I'm just saying, how would you know? How would the perps know? They would have to understand that. That is a detail that you just don't broadcast. Nancy was not on Facebook. I looked. She was not. Now, wait a minute. She was on Facebook. What I'm saying is she was not on Facebook saying, well, hello, everyone. I just want you to know last night I didn't lock my back doors. No, she was posting other things. So I submit that they came in. This guy came around to say, here I am. He picked those flowers. Could that have been a signal? Instead of blocking the camera, could that have been a signal to somebody on the inside that he was there, trying to get their attention? What if this guy came around to the front and he had the car waiting? And he came up to the door and the door wasn't open. Maybe this guy on the inside has said, look, you go around, I'll make sure the door is open, because that iron looking like storm door, that screen, that outer door, that's pretty hefty. That was locked from the inside. So what if this guy came around and said, I'm going to come around to the front. You unlock the door. And because he stood there for a minute. He looked at the door, he stood there, and then he went back. And maybe that's why he held those flowers and was giving whomever a signal over the camera. Don't tell me they weren't watching the camera, because it was there on Nancy's device on the inside, on the insides. Think about that. And then they took her out the front, because the trail led beyond the entry. I want you to think about that. That makes a little sense, doesn't it? Because I do not believe that that plant flower thing was haphazard. I believe he did it to say, look, I'm here. Dunce, that door was supposed to be open so we could take her out, because he came from the gate area and the garage area. Think about that. Think about that. But how would they know? Let me get my cards, my darlings. Now, you all are here with me. Let me fix my camera angle here. It's getting a little wonky. You all are with me. Welcome to the House of Zelda. Do me a favor, like and subscribe while you're here. And thank you so much for last Saturday night. Had a great time. This Saturday, you better be with me, because we got some stuff we need to talk about. Yeah, some heavy stuff. All right. I'm going to lay out some cards just like I would myself if I'm going to ask questions. I'm not going to do anything formal. I mean, after all, you're family, right? So there's no reason to be formal at this point. There's the first card out. Look at this. A celebration. That to me is basically saying chill. Staying still in one place. The money has not moved. No money has changed hands. All right, now here's a question. For the energy, there we are. For the energy, are the time sequences correct in the timeline? I'm getting this as a no. See, we have 2 water and we have 2 fire over here. There's always a water reference around Nancy. But this is a celebration. And, you know, things are popping in Tucson right now. Brian Etten is coming back. Many other people are coming back to be there. And I just feel something is happening. But remember, in a previous video a while ago, I said April 4th would be significant. I don't know why. It could be around April 4th. We'll see. But I take this as a no, because you see this Page of Wands here. This Page of Wands, look how he's looking up. And you know, the wands are always about growth and open doors. There are 2 10s here. Yeah, okay. It just doesn't show. And I'm going to say I think it's off by about 20 minutes. All right, so now I'm going to say this. Was Nancy taken out the front door? We can't ask multiple questions in a you can't do multiple choice. Like, was Nancy taken out the back door? Was she taken out the front door? Was she taken out the garage? You're going to get a mix of answers. So even though we may know the question, we're going to ask anyway, was Nancy taken out the back door? Oh, wow. Look at this one. That to me signals that the back door, this is a Virgo, six-pointed star of Solomon. That is not a wand. But look at this nine. Look at this nine of Pentacles and that bird. So, okay, so this is leaning toward taking out the back door. Why then was there droplets at the front door? The energy of leaving, jumping. Temperance card. Okay, my darlings. This Knight of Wands, if ever you want to have a project put into place, this is not only open doors, which would be the back door, but the front door. But here, this is interesting because this alludes to being, perhaps they tried to, and there was the struggle, and then they ended up going out the back door anyway. You see, the Temperance card, for me, has always meant law enforcement. There's a loyalty card. There's this loyalty here. But you see, these wings coming off the frame of the card means they weren't done yet. Oh my goodness. And the wands, creativity. So that tells me that there was a shuffling around, not knowing where to go, a concern of where it is being seen. Easy does it, bringing something, a cup of peace. However, I don't think it was peaceful. I think that she did what she could to not cooperate. But this guy is all about jumping into action. So at this point, they knew they had to go. They knew they had to leave. This is so interesting because this sword now, the swords are all about, they're an air element, they're all about communications and messages. And it's even thoughts. Could they have looked for money in the house? Yes. Or could someone in that house before law enforcement came? Could they have looked? Yes. I'm not accusing now. King of Cups. That is someone who is trying to stay stoic and in control there at the house. Okay. I'm going to ask this question. Did Nancy pass away shortly after they took her? Whoa, did you see the drop? Now, it hit my thumb, but I'm going to put these back. Did Nancy pass away shortly after they took her? Because that would surely put a wrench in the gear. Yes. And they didn't communicate that. I think she passed away either from fear. I do not see that they did that on purpose. I don't want anybody just thinking that. I mean, they're culpable to begin with, but I believe that it was either from fear, lack of medication, heart attack, something like that, most likely. Let's see what is unseen. Three people. Three people there, and there is the mastermind, and there are two asking how to muddle through this. Let's ask another couple of questions. No, I'm not going to ask if that one person is involved. We're just going to leave it like that because, don't feel like getting in trouble over it. Not worth it. I'm just going to basically say, tell us, pardon me, I hit the camera. Tell us what the energy wants us to know. Oops, I'm sorry. Misfortune. I must have my deck upside down. No. So somebody, you see, this is falseness in and around a home. And constancy, that's the all-seeing eye of God. What's on the bottom of the deck? Unexpected joy. And a reference to money, a reference to a bag near a home. That's not a church, that's a home in the background. What can you leave us with? Something that has not been viewed or seen. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, let's ask this question before I get into this. Are they showing us all the images from the camera? No. No, they are not. Because if they did, we may see two people that might be a husband and a wife. Might be, I'm just saying. But I don't think they're going to show us everything, because let's use a matter of deduction logically. If they can find an image of a person from January 11th standing at the front, not in the moonlight, and then they can stand, or they can find an image of this, or this video of this perp coming up to the front door. You can't just tell me that that's the only thing that Google scrubbed around and found. I'm sure that everybody is being very tight-lipped. This is a card, and these tell the story. These are cards of someone who is earning the wealth, not ransom, earning. They were there because they were paid, in my opinion. So they didn't care. They had a job to do. You can say at this point, mission accomplished. And the fact that Savannah said, that Cameron said, I'm sorry, sweetie, I do believe it's because of you. For anyone who asks me why, if it was somebody from Grand Junction, Colorado, why did they wait so long? Think about that. They have all the time in the world to pick their perfect timing. Mission accomplished. Savannah is supposed to be going back to work on the 6th. I don't know if she's going to be able to handle this ever again. She is supposed to be making progress there at work and being at, maybe not front and center again, but this is a card of warning. And that is, don't bite off too much more than you can chew. I believe that this younger person, the guy that they asked to be involved, is either hidden or gone or paid off, and sometimes that sort of kind of thing happens. because that you get nervous. But this is not a mission for just one person. There's no way that one person could have just this was a collaboration. There's no way one person could have accomplished any of this. I'm going to leave a lot of the conclusions up to you, my darlings. Please do me a favor, don't mention full names. When you start talking about the traffic department and all of those, and I'm just sorry to say, but all of those comments are just not even posted. You won't even see them because they're being held. And I think rightfully so. Let's not go down that. If you're going to put names, just put initials. That's cool. I'll understand what you're talking about. So we're back with the big book of Bull today. And believe me, my darlings, we're not through. We're not done yet. There's more coming. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe. Find Nancy. Bye for now.